Okay, turn us on. Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, November 21st, 2019, and this is the Board of Selectmen meeting. First up on our agenda is that the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 21st, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Bolton Town Hall to discuss the host community agreement related to the proposal for a cannabis products manufacturer from Integrative Health Products LLC for the property located at the Bolton Industrial Zoning District at 58 Main Street, as identified on the assessor's map as map 5E as parcels 10.0 and 55.0. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, hearing is now open. All right, so I guess this evening we are here to discuss the host community agreement. I know that Mr. Lowe has and our town council have been discussing that with the folks from Integrated Health, and we're here tonight to we'll discuss the agreement and then open it up for public.
Yes, discuss the agreement first, and I don't know if you'd like to invite Ted to come up and make any comments.
Please. Ted, would you like to come up?
If I may just make a brief opening. My name is Paul Gianetti. I'm an attorney in Hudson. I've been practicing since 1970, also a Bolton resident. I had the pleasure of working with Ted Rebholz on his marijuana sales on Route 62 in Hudson. And we started with medical marijuana sales, then went to adult use sales, and we would kind of led the process in Hudson, and I think it's a testament to his dedication and knowledge of the process that it went well in Hudson and quickly. We actually started looking at the town of Bolton in early September. And this process has also moved along rapidly. I like to think that we've given things you needed to have when you needed to have them to make the appropriate decisions. The site at 58 Main Street is presently under a contract with conditions, one of which obviously is getting the appropriate permitting. And we'd like to, move forward in this respect. Also with us is Adam Terry, who's in charge of product development. And since the moving force behind both the Hudson project, Temescal Wellness, and this project is Ted, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ted to tell you a bit about the company and how we got involved with the town of Bolton.
Sure.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening. My name is Ted Rebholz. I'm the CEO and founder of Integrative Health Products. We appreciate the opportunity to possibly bring our business here to Bolton. Over the past couple of months, we've appreciated all the time that many of you here have put into discussing with us, educating us about the community, brainstorming ideas about how we can make sure that as we build our business here, we do it in the way that's best for this municipality with the minimum amount of impacts. We've not only met with Don and Jenny, but also Erica several times. We've had a chance to meet one-on-one with several of the selectmen. In addition, we've sat down with the police chief as well as Lieutenant Hamburger. We've spoken with the fire chief as well. In addition, we gave them a tour of the facility in Worcester that we helped design, fit out, and train the employees for on behalf of our other company, Temescal Wellness. That facility, which is called a Class 1 Division 1 facility because of the materials used, was one that Adam designed, we fitted out, and we hired all the employees and trained it with very, very similar functions that we intend to do at 58 Main Street as well. In terms of our impacts on the town, we've also had a chance, actually, we had another meeting at the library. We made a point, because we recognize that this parcel is so close to many residences on Bolton Woods Way, we made a point of going door to door and informing them that we were going to have a session at the library as well. And we did that last month. Really good turnout, and it was yet another opportunity for us to hear about some of the concerns, to talk about how we intended to address them. In terms of those impacts, usually when people hear marijuana coming into their community, they're concerned about a couple things. First of all is the smell. That is a smell that happens with cultivation. We are not cultivating here. People are also concerned about traffic, especially around a dispensary. We will not have anything other than a nominal impact on traffic because this is not a dispensary. This is purely manufacturing. What shows up, probably approximately 10 people in the morning. Shifts usually start at 7, 7:30. Shifts usually end around 3 or 4 o'clock. So in terms of the traffic impact, we expect that to be nominal because of the relatively small employee base. As we mentioned, there's no smell impact. You won't be having people coming from other communities to buy products here. This is simply manufacturing, small number of employees. In terms of security and safety, we're confident, especially after brainstorming with the police chief on some of the things that we could do, we're confident that we're actually going to not only make the safest safer, we're going to make it arguably the safest location in Bolton. Because of the security measures that we were required to take by state cannabis-specific compliance rules, there will be cameras on 100% of the exterior. There will be cameras on 100% of the interior wherever cannabis is. All cannabis products will be stored in a vault. We will make sure that that vault is made of reinforced materials and take standard precautions as we've done in our other municipalities, such as no exterior walls. We will have motion sensors as well. All of our cameras will have night vision. We'll be able to, it's very high definition as per state rules. And as folks that are we also founded Temescal Wellness. We have 4 locations in the state of Massachusetts. We worked with law enforcement in each of those municipalities as well. As we like to say, this is not only going to be the safest part of Bolton, you either have to be a special type of stupid or a special type of smart to try to perpetrate a crime at a facility that's going to be as well guarded as this. Also, this actually came from our discussion with the police chief. We noticed that there's not only a curb cut along Main Street, there are numerous curb cuts, I believe 3 or 4.
I think 4.
4 on Bolton Woods Way. For our purposes, we only need 1. And we would want to choose the one that mitigates the impacts for the residents of Bolton Woods Way. So our intention is to put gates on all 4 of those curb cuts on Bolton Woods Way and just close them. We don't need them. We already have the one on Main Street. In addition to that, for the one on Main Street, we'll install a gate, and that gate only needs to be open during operating hours, which is probably going to be Monday through Friday, 7 to 3. After that, if our employees aren't there, we're going to close that as well. Based on feedback that we've heard from the community, that's actually going to make it much better than it is today. Today, since nobody's using it productively, you have other people loitering there, leaving trash there. Those people shouldn't be there, right? Not everybody's doing bad things, but they don't need to be there, and some people are doing bad things there. We expect that our presence is going to make that a very, very secure part of the town of Bolton. One last thing that I'll mention, and hopefully this came out in the amount of outreach that we did over the past several months. If there's one thing that we're proud of, it's not statistics around revenue or profitability. It's about the number of municipalities that we've been allowed to operate cannabis businesses in. In addition to Massachusetts, we're also in New Hampshire and in Maryland. In those 3 states, we have 3 different production facilities, and we have 6 different dispensaries. Mm-hmm. In those 9 municipalities, in 8 of them, we were the first cannabis company that was allowed to operate there. We would like to think that's because we're proactive. We don't hide. We don't try to do shady things. We are part of the new legal, incredibly intensively regulated cannabis industry. And we know that if we're going to come into a community, we're going to be a new neighbor. We're going to be a neighbor, but we're the newest neighbor. So we take time and we take opportunities like these to address concerns and to work collaboratively with the community to mitigate them. So we look forward to investing in the community, significantly increasing the property tax base, creating a decent number of good-paying jobs, all living wages. We as an employer pay for approximately 75% of all of our employees' health benefits. That's medical, dental, and vision. And we're pretty proud of that, and we hope that we become the newest member of the Bolton community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No, I had the pleasure of meeting with these gentlemen some time ago and spent a considerable amount of time in this room, discussing their plans and the operation and some of the other aspects that you had touched on. And I think we had a very good conversation. I also have gotten very good feedback from both the chief of police as well as the fire chief in terms of their discussions with these gentlemen and their planned business in town. The purpose of tonight's meeting is in order for these folks to actually move forward and consummate and start their business in Bolton. We have to negotiate a host community agreement. And that is something that Mr. Lowe and our town council have been working on with the folks in Integrative Health. And I think we've come up with a document that works for everyone. Our legal team, went above and beyond and put in the things that we felt were necessary. And we've got good reception from the folks in Integrative Health to be accommodative to those additions and changes to the host community agreement. So I think we have a fairly good document. I don't know if there's anything else, Don, that you want to bring up concerning the host community agreement.
As far as the host community agreement goes, just to reinforce what you said, we were able to do this in a couple of meetings and a phone call. We let it be known, what was important to us, especially from a language perspective. And Integrative Health was very receptive to that. I thought negotiations were fair and reasonable. Everybody had the spirit of, let's try to get a good agreement together and get it done. Just a couple of key features, if you will. The community impact fee has been established at a hard dollar value and not of a percentage of $20,000 per year for the community impact fee, based on the fact that it's absolutely accurate that it is minimal impact on the community. It's not no discernible increase in traffic. It's not a retail facility and it's not a grow facility. The host community agreement provides that defaults give the town the option to terminate the host community agreement, which would terminate Integrated Health's ability to operate in Bolton. We don't expect it's ever going to come to that, but the language was agreed upon. Some obligations on the part of the company. The host community agreement requires the following: one, to give preference to Bolton residents as businesses and hiring employees and vendors as possible. That's a good faith effort. Work with the Bolton Police on a diversion prevention program. Pay $4,000 at the signing to reimburse the town for its expenses in negotiating the agreement. Indemnify the town against claims relating to the host community agreement or the operation of the facility in Bolton. Work with the Bolton Police on security measures and contain odors on site and address odor complaints submitted by the town. So those are the key components of the agreement. Again, very important language to us. Personally, I'm excited about welcoming a new business to town. Nobody wants them to be more successful than they do. It's in their best interest. The security aspect of it and so forth. They don't want employee theft down there. They don't want people breaking into the place. And with the security measures that they're required to take, I can't imagine anything untoward happening down there. I should tell you, Ted, we found one very, very minor typo in the agreement. On page 7, section 16, under governing law, we did not catch that it referenced Hampton County and not Worcester County. So we need to change the name of the county. Aside from that, no other changes. So again, I think this is a very fair agreement given the nature of the business, and I fully support the selectmen voting in favor of it.
Right. Just to clarify also, while we have in the document the ability to terminate the agreement, the agreement has a 5-year span, of which in the agreement in year 4 we're required to renegotiate this agreement and for the business to continue in year 6.
Also, if the business were to change hands, the board needs to agree to that, but the approval cannot be reasonably or cannot be unreasonably denied. So you would have to have a very good reason to do that. But we do have language in there that gives us the opportunity, which was one of the very important pieces of language.
So from the perspective of this selectman, I was very pleased with the agreement, and certainly, to Don's point, do support moving forward with this. Gentlemen, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I do about what Don was talking about, the successor's assignment. So that's page 7, paragraph 13. So I just wonder if it's strong enough. I'm just a little concerned about the language. But the town shall not unreasonably condition, postpone, or withhold its consent to, transfer this agreement to a successor, or so I just wonder about this part of your negotiations.
Sure, no, I'd be happy to. In truth, integrative health would have been much happier if that language wasn't there at all. And I understand that.
The whole paragraph?
The whole paragraph.
Okay.
That being because there have been cases, not relative to their company, but other companies that come in, present a good front,
Yeah,
and then they pass the business on to someone else, and the town has no control over it.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt it was important to have some sort of language in there, but we couldn't put such a straitjacket on it that their request could be unilaterally denied, because that's not a way that they can operate either. So we got we got agreement on this language specifically that we have to have a reason to reject their assignment, but it has to be reasonable. And council drafted language that we did feel was fair to both parties.
Right, and this kind of language here is typical of what you would find in other types of contracts. I work for a enterprise software company that sells commercial software to pharmaceutical companies, and this type of language is in here mainly for if the pharmaceutical company decides to sell, and there's been a lot of mergers and acquisition. This kind of language is typical in there, and I think is protects us, obviously. So this is not atypical of what I see in other agreements.
So Don, if there's, if we can't come to an agreement about what is unreasonable, what is the process after that? If we come up with conditions or objections, it's deemed unreasonable, what is the process for resolving that?
Well, we would, if we withheld our assent, then, and I'm not going to speak for you, but basically they have an appeals process, which I'm sure would include the courts, or the Cannabis Commission. I'm not sure which it would be.
The kind of things you'd be looking at would be financial strength, experience in the business, a reputation, and certainly if our potential assignee did not meet the standards that we've set and which you accepted in granting us this agreement, you could certainly say, for those reasons, you don't meet the bar as far as what we approved originally back in 2019. So let's resolve these areas, let's work with these concerns. I think the reasonable language appears in all these agreements. I mean, it can't be on one side or the other. Simply, we don't like the color of your suit you're wearing that day. It has to be something based upon your practices, your reputation, your financial structure, from both our side in looking for an assignee and your side in approving that assignee.
And the court generally uses the standard what a reasonable person would deem.
That is correct. Looking at those factors, looking at the factors that made you come in the direction of saying we're satisfied to sign this host agreement with Integrative.
Yeah, and I think we need to look at the rest of that paragraph, because they do not, it goes on to say that if the company is bought or consolidates or merges or a stock transfer or something like that, that we have no say in that. This is just if, basically to do the worst case scenario, they come before us, they get permission to open the agreement, then they sell the rights that they got from us to another company,
That's right.
without the other company actually buying them. That's what this paragraph addresses. So it's not we don't have a say in any kind of change of control, just in the particular kind that's defined in this paragraph.
As I said, this was language that council was comfortable with, that they just can't act unilaterally, but nor can we. We would need to have a valid reason to not provide approval.
So I'm comfortable with that. I think it provides the town some protection. And again, this is a negotiation, not a, we can't just dictate all the terms which would be acceptable to us. I think this does protect the town in a worst case scenario.
You want to see public comment now?
Are there any other questions or comments?
No, that's it.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm comfortable with
all right,
the payments and the other conditions.
all right. Well, since we're done, I'll open it up to the audience. If anyone has any questions, if you could just identify yourself, name and street address.
Hi, Bob Gardella. I live at 59 Bolton Woods Way, and I went to the earlier session they had.
Mhm.
I guess I'd just like to ask a process question. What's the next step? One of the things that Ted mentioned at the meeting is that there would be another open meeting to the town that would be better publicized than the first one was.
Well, the next two steps, after the assuming the host community agreement is signed,
Yeah.
then they're required by statute to have their own public meeting.
Okay.
And everyone will, the abutters are duly noticed. Also, they need to go to the planning board and then go through the normal planning board process. So those would be the next two key steps.
Yeah, just to be clear about that last point, this is not a permit to, this agreement is not a permit to operate this facility. They have to get that permit from the planning board.
And ultimately, the Cannabis Control Commission.
Right, they need this agreement to start the process.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fine. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Hi, I'm Lou Barati. I live at 68 Bolton Woods Way. So I just have two concerns. So the access points onto Bolton Woods Way, you said that you're going to put a gate or you're going to address it. So I think all of us on Bolton Woods Way would like to see something aesthetically pleasing. If you're going to do that, you know, not like a fence like at a prison or something like that. Bolton is a beautiful town, and you know we want to keep it that way. So it'd be short money, but it would go a long way with us and with Bolton itself if you could address that. And I don't know how, but if we could get it into the language that we could have something, you know, aesthetically nice and you know, make things better, and as opposed to putting up a gate with an arm or blinking lights or something along those lines.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't go into this agreement. That would be part of the process when they go before the planning board. And the planning board will list out a set of conditions. So, you know, that will be part of their process.
Okay, I see a lot of shaking heads up and down, and I think we're in agreement. So
Yep.
I think we're starting to get into a gentleman's agreement that when it comes time to do what you said, that we go ahead and do this. I think we would really appreciate it. I think it sounds like a sticking point, but it really isn't. It means a lot, because I don't want to drive up my road and see, you know, a factory or something like that. Go ahead.
Listen, this is obviously the first step. And the kind of issues that you're discussing, which are valid concerns, are the kind of thing we'll address with the planning board. We'll have more definite information. It's a step-by-step process. This opens the door for us. There'll be hearings coming up, as Don has pointed out, and you're welcome to attend. And if you're not satisfied with our solutions or our suggestions, you're welcome to speak up, and we're more than happy to talk to you about it.
Okay, and then I have a more important point. So I'm assuming that surveys and studies probably have been done with all the other facilities that you've built throughout the country. The folks on Bolton Woods Way are very concerned about our property value. So when we put a facility like this, and it could be any product, but it's this product right now. it could be any product that goes into the foot of our neighborhood. How is that going to impact our property value? That is by far the most important thing that we're concerned with.
If I may.
Sure.
I'm glad you brought up Lou.
Lou, yeah.
I think your 2 points, I think, are, for me, they're very much intertwined. Because on the first one, the aesthetics of it, I need to make sure that my people are excited to come to work. And if it's an ugly place, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot. So I hear you. The same type of aesthetics that you're going to want to see every time you drive up and down Bolton Woods Way, that's what I'm going to want my employees to see. And you know, I think your suggestion is not, it's not $1 million ask, right? This is making it nice and beautiful. It's not going to break the bank. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think related there too, in terms of property values, at the public meeting at the library, we actually talked to a couple people afterwards. They were excited for us to come there because their point of view is that when it's just sitting empty like that, it's an eyesore. There's nobody there. There's nobody giving it care and attention. I've heard of people picking up the trash because no one is there to take care of the property. So our hope is that, our hope is that nobody notices us because we don't want attention, right? We want everyone to be happy because if you guys aren't happy and if we drop the ball in terms of keeping it clean at a minimum and hopefully also keeping it nice and maybe beautiful, we want to be here for a long time. So we've got to conduct ourselves like good neighbors.
Okay. So getting back to the survey, has there been any studies on like neighborhood impacts with these type of facilities going in? And if not, can we please get a study so we don't figure out down the road that my property dropped $100,000 simply because, and like I said, I don't care about the product, but other people out there that are in the real estate market might say, well, this is an issue. I'm not in real estate, I don't know, but I do know that when you introduce a new type of facility like this, it will change the value of your property. It may be a little, maybe a lot, I don't know, but that's what I'm asking is, can we find out so we don't have to figure it out later and then, the folks on Bolton Woods Way, we're kind of out of luck at that point. And again, I don't have a problem with the product. It's literally dollars and cents. I just don't want to lose value on my home when you guys go in there and, you seem real nice and I really appreciate you going the extra mile and honoring and saying you're going to make it look good. I'm just worried about not so much that, but the real estate folks that do the assessment, that go out, Worcester County, the folks in Worcester County, they put all the market values and so forth. So, what do you think? Do you think we can do a survey?
Is that something we could ask our planning department to look into, if there are such studies out there? Or
I would probably approach the assessors.
I was going to say the assessors have an outside consultant who may be familiar with resources for that.
So I could certainly approach the assessors about that. And I'm sure, given the number of communities that David is in, I'm sure he's already seen this. He's very aware of what property value, they're in about 20 communities, so I would have to believe that he would be aware of that.
So maybe they can advise us about what they've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If I could just add, we're looking at 3 levels really: retail sales, cultivation with the attendant odor issue, and manufacturing. So of those 3, ours is the lesser impact in the area. So if we're looking at studies about other facilities, we should limit those to what we're talking about,
Like
manufacturing.
facilities, right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but to Lou's point, we appear novices at this, and that probably bears some looking into.
Yeah, we can have David work on that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Maybe this is just.
Could you identify yourself, Al?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. Al Ferry, Pilot Road.
Thank you.
Maybe this is just, general interest in what's going on around town. But this is a manufacturing plant, so what goes in and what comes out?
Adam, you want to take that?
Sure. So in a cannabis manufacturing facility, you have essentially input of already dried and cured biomass, and that biomass just being the raw plant material. So that's grown somewhere else in a cultivation facility. That's what they refer to as cultivation. During that process, they grow it, they dry and they cure it, and that's when pretty much all the smell comes out of it. After that, it's then shipped to a manufacturing facility. The manufacturing facility will intake it, put it into a secure vault, and then it's extracted. That extraction process is one of three main processes. You have a cold ethanol extraction, so just pure alcohol at low temperatures. You have hydrocarbon extraction, which is just a mixture of food grade like butane and propanes. And then you have carbon dioxide extraction. All three of those, it'll take that plant material and concentrate it down into basically a thick sap. That thick sap is concentrated in the active ingredients. Essentially, just like a pharmaceutical factory would have a main ingredient that's synthesized and shipped to them, and then they process that into pills or into nasal sprays or into patches. We then take that concentrated active ingredient and we put it in essentially similar things. We put it into little tablets, which are essentially mints. We put them into oral sprays. We put them into edible food products. And then those products get sealed up in branded packaging, also stored in the vault, and then they're wholesaled out to dispensaries. So then all of the products that are leaving the facility will be processed products that no longer actually could be identified as cannabis, other than by their packaging. And they go out in a truck to somewhere else. They're never sold at the facility. So you have intake of the plant material and output of branded, packaged, and sealed products.
And what comes in is like barrels or slurry?
No, what comes in is essentially the dried plant.
And these byproducts you were talking about sound like they're gas.
So the extraction,
So,
yeah, so the extraction process in all three of the cases that I just mentioned are all what are called closed loop extractions. So the same solvent that's passed through the bed in order to extract the cannabis is then distilled in a closed system and returned to our solvent storage. So we actually lose less than 4% typically of our solvent as time goes on, and typically a busy day for running cannabis extractions would run something like about 15 to 20 pounds of butane or carbon dioxide. So you're running, what fits in a canister about this big, and you're capturing 96% of it back. So the emissions are relatively insignificant.
this is real curiosity, but why is at your retail shop, why is the access and traffic so complicated?
So at most retail shops, that he's laughing because this is a really big question in a lot of towns. It depends on a couple of things, but what it really comes down to is there's a lot of demand for this product in the state. There's relatively few shops open, so a lot of people are going to the same place all at once. Northampton, which opened just about a year ago this week. I don't know how familiar you are all with that area, but Northampton's shop is in probably the worst place you could probably put it in Northampton for a lot of traffic to come through. It's right near a traffic circle. It's just a couple blocks from the highway, and there's no parking around it at all. So, parking was a nightmare there. Similar happened in Leicester right here at Cultivate, which also opened about a year ago. INSA, which is in East Hampton, about 10 minutes away. INSA is in one of the old mill buildings, the big factory buildings. Those buildings are designed for about 3,000 people to come work there in a day from when they actually used to do manufacturing. INSA to date has never had issues with people parking or traffic in East Hampton. I know because I spent a lot of time in East Hampton. I was there the day that they opened, and you had not that many people coming in and out. Or you did, but they could all park there because there's a huge parking lot behind it. So a lot of it just comes down to choice of where these dispensaries end up being. In many cases, in the last, whether there's 16 or 17 shops open right now in the state, for all of the people in the state to come to, typically there's just not enough parking nearby for all those people. But that's not really an issue when you're not bringing people to buy stuff at your facility. But that is typically where the issue comes from.
We are hopeful that at our Hudson facility, we will soon no longer need the satellite parking lot because we appreciate that it's a suboptimal experience for consumers, and so hopefully the town will agree.
Probably a good word.
I try to be diplomatic.
Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Dave Brooksbach in Bolton Woods Way. I was at the meeting about a month ago at the library, and a couple of the concerns have already been brought up at the meeting tonight. And at the meeting last month at the library, but a couple of things that I wanted to point out in the meeting, part of the planning process meeting would be, the things like lighting at night, is it too excessive, or to what degree is lighting that's acceptable? I'm not sure if that would be something that would fall under that.
That would be the
Yes,
plan.
that definitely the planning board, when they go through that, they'll have to provide a lighting plan,
Yeah.
and there's discussion about the kind of lighting and whatnot, and, that's a whole process that goes through. We went through that not too in the far past with citizens, with the Clinton Savings Bank in terms of that. So yeah, that's part of the whole process with the planning board.
Okay.
But it sounds like there's a concern about the facility looking too industrial and wanting it to,
Well, the meeting that they had a month ago was really informative. I learned a lot, and I felt much better having attended that and hearing the feedback that we were getting regarding lighting and the gates along Boltonwood's Way, and things like noise. In terms of at night, are there going to be compressors running all night or something like that, or during the day? How noisy could we expect it to be? Things like that, or living in Boltonwood's Way, that would be something I'm certainly. Then the other thing I just wanted to ask in terms of, you highlighted the process of the next steps, but what kind of timeline can we expect as far as these next steps happening?
Ted, assuming the host agreement gets signed tonight, what is your timeline? That's really driven by you at that point.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So we're hoping to have that second community outreach meeting next month in December, trying to get it in before all the holiday travel starts. I've spoken with Erica about getting us on the second planning board meeting in January. I spoke with the planning board just about a month ago in this room. We discussed a lot of those issues, so it's just going to be a matter of can we gather all of the prerequisite materials to present to the planning board by that time. And if we can't, if I'm going to know by the end of December if I have to ask Erica, it's going to be February in terms of the planning board meeting and permitting process. The second community outreach meeting should be next month.
Longer term, the state, if we have the host community agreement signed, that's a precondition to our pressing send and applying to the state. The state has seen a surge in applications. There are now some people suggesting that you're going to wait a year, maybe even 2. We hope that's not the case for us. Even if we can't start production with cannabis until that later time, we do have some activities that don't involve cannabis that we might start coming to the facility as a team and doing that.
has there been any discussion at the planning board about working with the design review board?
Yes, they indicated at the last meeting that they don't think they'll have to trigger the design review board for this. I think I did read through the requirements on the DRB. We don't we're not changing anything to the exterior except for those gates. So barring that, and we do intend to put in those nicer gates. Barring that, they indicated that they don't intend to open a design review board at this time, but it might be once they see some preliminary materials if they change their mind.
Chancellor, both an independent and both a resident. Where do you stand on purchasing the property? I think you mentioned that at the beginning, but I didn't catch it.
We have the purchase and sale agreement. We've already made payments to the seller. It's really contingent on this moving forward.
You want to close the hearing?
Yeah, assuming there's no more questions, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
And can I'm sorry, you're just a little too fast. You said mid-December, but have you picked a date yet?
I have not looked at a calendar and picked out a date, but I will be doing so very soon.
All right, let me tell you a little bit about what happened after the meeting. I think there were about a dozen people at the meeting, the last meeting, and my guess is that represented about 5 households on Boltonwood's Way, so not a big impact. Not a big participation. Dave got a copy of your proposal, and he sent it to essentially the distribution list on Boltonwood's Way. And as a result of that, it looks like we have one new person, one new place. We lost 3, but we gained 1. That's not very encouraging to us. But the better it's publicized, the more time before it's going to happen. We can at least put some pressure to try to convince people to show up. Now, I realize this meeting is really for the whole town, it's not just for Bolton Woods Way. But again,
Maybe you can share contact information.
Yeah, absolutely. And at Erica Uriarte's request for that second community outreach meeting, we will be not only mailing notices to the required abutters, but all the abutters on Bolton Woods Way. That's at her request. To say which day it's going to be for the meeting, I know I have the 11th to the 13th blocked out on my calendar, so I'm going to suppose it's the week after that. The week after that, suppose it's Christmas. So that would put us in the week of the 15th to the 20th, if my math is correct. And that will be published in the Bolton Independent, whatever. I think actually Eric has taken care of the publishing for that. I think that's required by the agreement. So that is also required by the CCC before we can submit our application, so we can have that meeting.
Right, it should be known that for this hearing, there was a butters list produced, and everyone who was in a butter was mailed.
okay.
So,
No, I'm not saying.
I know it's hard, you know, it's hard to get people to come out, but just so you know, that was done. All right, so we closed the hearing, and I guess next up is,
Look, you would seek a motion to vote to authorize me on behalf of the board to sign the community
Right.
host agreement with Integrated Health Products.
right, well, I'm comfortable with the HCA, or the CHA, and I will take a motion to vote to approve the document and authorize Mr. Lowe to be our signatory.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Okay.
You know, and to the folks on Bolton Woods Way, you don't have to wait for these meetings to be asking people questions. You contact us or Don or the appropriate departments.
Is it possible to get a copy of that HCA?
By the way, we have
After it's executed, yeah, it'll be a public document.
Would I come here to get that?
Actually, we'll scan it once it's signed, and if you want to email me, I'll email
That's what you
it.
do. Thank you.
Where do you, from?
You have the clean document.
All right, thank you very much,
One
everyone.
for me and one for you.
I'll try to charge.
Okay, well, next up on our,
Before you start, can you just follow up on that survey? So I'm not sure I understand what just happened. So did they get their approved?
They got the host community agreement, they saw all of the process.
So what happens with the survey or going out?
Well, we won't conduct a survey. What I'll do is I'll speak with our assessor who has, like I said, experience about 20 other towns, and I'll ask them to advise me on what they've seen as far as impact or not to property in other areas.
Okay, so then let's say it does impact us, let's say property values drop 20-25%. So what happens at that point?
At that point, then, the planning board, correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but I think the planning board, Stan, I'm sorry, but I think the planning board, if they thought a project has a detrimental impact to the town, they have the right to refuse to agree to certain, to authorize it.
Okay, so it would be with the planning board?
It would.
Okay, and you said you're going to go through the assessor's office, but what about like an independent study? I'm just trying to make sure that we're getting, good information that you guys can make good decisions with, right?
well, the thing is, right now, that's not something we can authorize. That was not part of the discussion this evening. So I think first step, let's have Don talk to the assessors, and then based upon that, and when we go through the planning board process, if something like that is deemed necessary, we can take it at that step.
And there are certain things that can be done. For instance, if somebody, and this is similar, if somebody's concerned about traffic, the planning board could demand a traffic study, and that's paid at the expense of the applicant. And if we had reason to believe that there could be, based on the anecdotal data or somewhat anecdotal data that we have, then that can be expressed to the planning board, and they could say they want money for an independent, not one hired by them, but an independent survey done.
Right.
So the butter should start communicating with the town planner, Erica Uriarty, and the chairman, Eric Nyland.
Okay.
and getting that as part of the discussion
Yeah.
after, Don does his work.
And I think there's a small sample size, right, of these, well, especially with their businesses, they've already established 4 or 5 throughout the country where they should be able to find out if a neighborhood, a community is, financially impacted on their real estate. I don't think it'd be too hard to figure that out.
Well, again, I think you have to go back to make sure it's the right kind of facility that we're comparing.
No, apples to apples, I agree.
Right.
I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to get it right. I don't want to find out later, oops.
We don't want to find out later either.
I don't think you guys would like it if it happened.
No.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, no, I would just, expect that having a active business there rather than a derelict site has to, weigh in that balance.
Yeah, but it's a balance, that's a good
Yeah.
word, right? I mean, if you do it properly, great,
Yep.
everybody wins. If you don't do it right, there's a lot of people that are impacted, especially on a road, and that's not good either, so.
I've been impressed, about, their facility
Yeah.
in Hudson, just the way they are in a difficult situation and a lot of users, how they're orchestrating it. The police that are there, it looks very professional. It doesn't have like neon, hot leaves on the.
I'm not worried about the product, I'm not worried anything except for the property value and the aesthetics on our street.
Yeah.
Really,
I agree.
I'm not looking for like something crazy.
I would think the aesthetics, personally, I would think the aesthetics would be a driver, and to Jonathan's point, in my experience, a vacant derelict facility is much more likely to have a negative impact on property values than an active, spruced up, aesthetically pleasing facility.
I don't know, I really don't know about like the real estate market or anything like that. I just want to make sure that, we're not impacted and, things are good, that's all.
One thing you may want to do, and I don't think it's appropriate for us to do, is you may want to call a couple of the local real estate agents and ask them what their perception is.
I'd be happy to, that's fine, yeah, that's a good suggestion. Okay, all right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a pleasant evening. All right, next up is a consideration of a request from Bolton Youth Baseball to name 2 ball fields located within Memorial Field to post signage.
I can tell you, I didn't say Messi come back.
All right.
How's everyone going? Good to see you.
Doing well.
How are you? Mike Gore, P. Rogers.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Baseball, softball. So I think we realized after the summer meeting that we had with you guys that we didn't talk through the entire plan. One of the parts that included naming of the fields for the 2 major sponsors for the lighting project, as well as the sign that we might have briefly discussed the sign, but so we went back and talked to Parks and Rec, and they had approved our initial plan. I think we spent a good hour with Parks and Rec talking through them, and I think with you guys we only spent about 10 minutes or so going through it. So we wanted to make sure that we were, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's here. So, again, the lighting project is happening on the fenced-in field, on Memorial Field. If you've been by there recently, the poles were delivered. We got all the fixtures installed yesterday. We're doing wiring tomorrow, weather depending, I guess. And then the pole should be raised up in the next few weeks or so. So we've really made a lot of progress on the project over the past few months. And so this sign was going to be, I think we mentioned in our last meeting that we're going to have our major sponsors, Bolton Global Capital, who donated $25,000 to the project.
Wow.
And Clinton Savings Bank donated $10,500. So in consideration for those 2 things, we were going to permanently name what we call the fenced-in field as the Bolton Capital Field. And then for a period of 8 years, we were going to name the softball field the Clinton Savings Bank Field.
Okay.
We aren't installing permanent signs on those fields. We have kind of 3 foot by 5 foot temporary sponsor signs that you'll see them all over the back fencing on the field. We're just reusing their existing signs for that we have on the field. But this one will be a permanent sign. So this is the same company that made the Murphy Insurance sign on the basketball court. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah.
We basically asked them, we want the same sign as that. And this will be located kind of close by the snack shack.
This sign will be,
This sign will be yes,
so it's just one sign,
one sign.
and in one of the documents, it references going to be on the back stuff.
So that was where I was mistaken. Yeah, we aren't putting permanent signs on the fields themselves.
Cool. And then is this electronic?
No, oh, sorry, no. So this is actually going to list the names of donors. So right now on the site, basically, there's categories of donations.
Okay.
I hope that's supposed to be triple.
That's tripe, yeah. That's the really cheap, the cheap donor right there. Yeah. It's very similar to what's there. We tried to really model it, or what the Murphy Court did.
Cool.
Yeah.
Looks fine with me.
So I would approve the installation of the sign as presented. I move that we approve the sign as presented.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Great, thank you.
Thank you guys, appreciate
Field naming
it.
is all set, that's.
The naming of the fields again, kind of. that's all set. Okay, great. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good to see you all.
Have a nice
You
evening.
guys come out for our opening night in the spring.
Yeah.
We'll throw out the first pitch.
Good line.
Okay. Next up on our agenda is consideration of a request from the Florence Sawyer Robotics to design and install a cargo net spider web with climbing feature as part of the nature play area on the Bolton Town Common.
Hello.
Hey guys, come on in.
We have enough chairs, you can pull chairs up
I
to
have
the
some
table.
copies for you guys. You guys can share, I guess.
Well, thank you, Ken. And happy birthday.
Hello, we're the Golden Turtle Squad.
We're the Florence Sawyer School robotics team.
Hi, I'm Finn.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Tyler. I'm Hunter. I'm Connor. And I'm Evan. So we wanted to do the construction of the spiderweb for the natural playscape at the Bolton Town Common. So the assignment. As part of the first LEGO League FLL robotics program, we were asked to identify a problem within building a public space in your community. Design a solution and share your solution with others. Then we presented our findings during competition.
The project. We thought a number of different things to benefit our community, but one that made us the most excited was the natural play area for our town common. The initial plan of the BCT, Bolton Conservation Trust, for the common was included to the natural play area. We wanted to help support the goal and therefore brainstorm some unique ideas.
So some ideas we came up with include a hill slide, a play nest, a mushroom spinner, a gaga pit, an egg seat, a playhouse, a natural laboratory, a scavenger hunt, monkey bars, a climbing wall, a balance beam, jumping stumps, climbing stumps, spiderweb climbing, a shuffleboard, sandbox, a garden, a pond, and an imagination area. So after considering cost, liability, maintenance, and feasibility, and discussing with the Parks and Recs Committee and the Bolton Conservation Trust, we finally narrowed it down to the spider web climbing feature. You can see a picture of it on page 5.
The BTC will provide trained people to secure the feature that will follow installation safety instructions set forth by the commercial vendor. A safety inspection will be performed once the feature has been installed by Nancy White and a certified playground safety inspector. No weekly maintenance is necessary for this project, and the annual safety and durability checks will be done if deemed necessary. The Bolton Conservation Trust has provided us a letter that says that they are providing the resources needed for the project. The existing liability and insurance that the town already has will cover the spiderweb climbing feature, provided it has passed the safety inspection.
For some more details, the rope feature purchased from a commercial vendor such as Anchor would cost about $500 to $1,500. The Incord rope is to be made out of 1 1/4 inch of Pro Manila Ultra 3 rope. The eye bolt hooks purchased from Cleves and Needham. We have an phone number there. The cost of the eye bolts would be $9 to $11 for a 12 to 18 inch length. If we need logwood, the logwood would be treated with a child-safe preservative, right? For construction and installation, it will be secured to existing trees with the eye hooks. A drill will be used to make the hole through the tree. A local arborist, Stephen Schneider, was consulted and suggested this method. The feature will not be higher than 5 feet on one end, the other end will be lower. If a log is used to secure part of this feature, it will be cut on site by a trained worker and placed in the planned location.
So as you can see the pictures on page 8, the Bolton Town Common with proposed natural play area site. On page 9 is the full view of the play area with the spiderweb feature, along with other preliminary designs that will be created with the playground designer. This map shows the spiderweb in relation to other potential features. On page 10, the play area feature locations pictured with sample features. Here's an example of how the rope feature gets secured with the logs. An example of the profile and top view of feature on page 11. This mock-up shows the slope of the feature and the highest point will be no higher than 5 feet. Thank you for considering our proposal. Any questions?
That's great.
Great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think each one of you has made an excellent presentation.
Yeah.
You've certainly been very thorough in terms of, I'm impressed you all became experts on insurance. Municipal insurance. And the logistics and engineering associated with this. It's a very good project.
Yeah,
Your team,
great.
You've got good partners with the Bolton Conservation Trust.
That's all. Yeah, exactly.
I agree, it's a great addition to the common. And it's the start of that play area. It's very exciting to get that started.
I do have one question. What's a gaga pit?
You're showing your age, Stan.
It's sort of like a enclosed dodgeball area, but like you would hit it with your hand, like with a fist, and like you hit shins and stuff.
Okay, great. Super. No, I think it's great. You guys have done a fabulous job. Fabulous job.
So are we accepting the gift here, or are we giving approval, or what exactly?
You are giving approval, and then once it's done, then you'll accept the gift.
Yes.
All right, so I'll take a motion that we give approval to this project for the Bolton Town Common.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. All right, congratulations.
Thank you, gentlemen. Pleasure.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
We'll get out.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Good work. Congratulations. Good job. Good presentation.
Thank you. That's great.
All right, good job, guys.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Oh, now we gotta listen to you.
You know,
Jeez.
as I said before,
You picked a tough act to follow.
they teach
And you don't have your reliable middle.
That's right. That's like you got no minute man, you got no portico, you got nothing.
They teach you in show business, never follow an animal act or kid. So, without further ado, the MassWorks project. I'm just going to read a little bit from the update that was sent out to news and announcements yesterday. And it's a week ahead project schedule, which was updated on November 20th, which was yesterday. On Wattaquatic Hill Road, existing driveways at 714 Main, the Wattaquatic Hill site only, number 8, number 12, Cracker Barrel, and parking lot. Old Firehouse, entry to Memorial, and one of the two Trinity Church driveways on Wattaquatic Hill Road will be stripped of pavement beginning on Wednesday, November 20th. Gravel in these driveways will be graded and kept passable to all users. These driveways will be formed for concrete on Thursday, November 21st, today, so hopefully when I go home I see that. Concrete will be poured in these driveways on Friday, November 22nd. Users of these driveways will not be able to cross the concrete until sometime on Wednesday, November 27th. Well, the police department will allow on-street overnight parking for this work. Parking in the common lot, the Houghton lot, will also be allowed. We will carefully watch the weather patterns before any other driveway work is undertaken before the Thanksgiving holiday. Separate notice will be delivered to those homes where driveway work is next planned. And on Main Street, curbing is 99% complete, remaining curb only at utility pole locations. Gravel box behind curbing under new sidewalk, 100% complete. All areas safe and passable by foot traffic until sidewalk contractor arrives and completes work. Sidewalk contractor will pour the final portions of sidewalk on November 21st. All conduit crossings beneath the roadways will be complete and pavement will be patched by Friday, November 22nd. And we will carefully watch the weather patterns before any driveway work is done along Main Street, and separate notice will be delivered to those homes when driveway work is next planned. So things are progressing along. We've had a few challenges with the weather, given the time of year, but things are progressing along well.
So Don, sorry to interrupt. So will there be a concrete apron at every driveway?
Concrete apron. If I understand the question, the answer is yes. I believe it. Yes, I believe there will be.
Okay.
Staffing update. The staffing update we have, as I believe you all know, our current assessor's clerk, Cynthia Bradbury, will be retiring in January. Going back to the budget planning with advisory back in the February-March timeframe, we planned for this transition, and we advertised widely for this, and the person that we have extended an offer to and has accepted is a woman by the name of Kelly Grolock. She's currently the assistant assessor in Petersham. She has 26 years experience and is fully certified, and her first day of work to start the transition is December 9th. And Kristen Noel worked very closely with the Board of Assessors and really took the ball and ran with this. She organized all the interviews and sat through all the interviews with the assessors. And I spoke with the chairman of the Board of Assessors yesterday, I believe it was, possibly today, it's all a blur. And he said that he didn't feel that they would have been as successful going through this without her involved. So that was really good to hear. So we've got a highly qualified person coming in, and very excited. You know, that sounds like a great addition to the town hall team.
Super, great.
And just one other thing that I didn't have on the agenda, but just as an FYI, if I didn't, I think I sent this out to the selectmen. If I didn't, I apologize. But this is from the chief of police, and he says, "Please join me in congratulating School Resource Officer Casey Hoole McCarthy for receiving the Community Traffic Safety Hero Award from AAA Northeast. SRO McCarthy was nominated for coordinating the impaired driving simulation course, which was presented to the Neshoba Regional High School students. Those students got a chance to see how impaired driving can affect their operating abilities and safety behind the wheel. Congratulations also go out to every member of this department. We received AAA Northeast Silver Award for our outstanding achievements in traffic safety and our continuing efforts to educate and protect the citizens of our community." So two very important awards I wanted to make sure the board and the public were aware of.
Congratulations on that.
Don, I think we received a couple of grants since the last meeting too.
We have received a couple of grants. Thank you for that. We've received the Housing Choice Community Grant Award that Erica, you already submitted in the amount of $100,000. That was, the purpose for that will be to go towards the drainage project of Spectacle Hill, Century Mill Road, that was approved by town meeting. And we received a grant in approximately $3,100 that Rebecca Longwall applied for on behalf of the Conservation Commission to do, I'm not good at this type of thing, but it's for what the Wilder Road area, and to begin documenting different species, flora and fauna that's there, and working with the homeowners in the area. Yeah, to catalog that stuff, exactly. So thank you for reminding me of that. So we're still rolling around with the grants and the MVP grant, the Municipal Vulnerability Program grant that Rebecca has quarterbacked for us. We're supposed to learn next month whether or not we've gotten that one, but I read over the application and it looked very strong to me. And unless you have any other questions, that's really all I have for you tonight.
Ron,
Yes,
you gonna sign off 189?
it's coming,
Oh, okay,
I swear.
okay.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Next up is the Bolton Board of Selectmen business. Do we have any public service announcements this evening?
No, I don't.
Maybe just quickly, I know Friends of the Bolton Seniors, it's year round, but especially this time of year, fuel assistance for the seniors in town. You know, it's a struggle for some seniors to be able to get enough heating oil. And the Friends of the Bolton Seniors, have a fund that they have set up, and any and all donations are welcome to help out some of the folks that need that assistance. So if you can find it in your heart during the holiday seasons, a few bucks to the Friends of the Bolton Seniors for heating oil, which goes to senior citizens in the town of Bolton, would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, next up is the approval of the conservation restriction at 189 Harvard Road.
You have it in your packets, please bring, I thought you did.
Yep, we did.
There's been quite a bit of work done on behalf of the Bolton Conservation Trust, working with state authorities and so forth. This CR is from everything I understand from the state level, ready to be signed. I did have our attorney review it, and there were no issues with it from our attorney.
Okay. All right, no, that's all good.
Is this significantly different than one we did a few months ago over on, I think it was Bear Hill?
I don't believe it is.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the conservation restriction at 189 Harvard Road.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next up is the acceptance of gifts.
I'm sorry, who signs that on behalf of the board? I don't have it. I'm sorry. Is it all three or is it standard? It is all three. Okay, so that'll be done at the end of the meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is the acceptance of gifts since April 25th, 2019. Do we have a list?
We do, it's right here.
Okay. All right. So our FY20 gift acceptance list. Do you want me to just go through and?
You can. Yes, I think it's probably best.
Yeah. All right. So for the FY20 gift acceptance list, I won't do the dates. I'll just do the amounts and what they were for. Bolton Senior Citizens Association, $500 for senior fuel assistance, as I just mentioned a moment ago. Robert and Kelly Beauchesne, $100 senior fuel assistance. And Annie Gherkin, $100 senior fuel assistance. Bolton Lions Club, $600 senior fuel assistance. Berkowitz family, $50, Library Memorial Fund. North Central, $100, Parks and Rec Gift Fund. Rick Bernier, $60, Ruth Donation Fund. Daniel Kagan, $3,000, Conservation Gift Fund. The Bernese Mountain Dog Club, $200 for the Parks and Rec Fund. Nathan Wood, $250, Library Memorial Fund. Murphy Insurance, $5,000, Parks and Rec Gift Fund. Cultural Council, $500, Parks and Rec Gift Fund. John Kravitz, $50, Senior Fuel Assistance. Harold Brown, $50, Hometown Heroes. Tinker Garden, $236.34, Parks and Rec Gift Fund. Vaughn and Corianne Mackey, $100, Senior Fuel Assistance. Robert and Carol Davis, $50, Senior Fuel Assistance. Country Cover, $200, Parks and Rec Gift Fund. So we won't go, well actually they have totals there. The total amount of the donations this year so far, from February 12th, 2019 to October 30th, 2019. Total $11,146.34. Do I have a motion to accept those gifts?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is to set the dates for our meetings in 2020.
So we have
Don
the-
provided the list.
We have the custom-made list that was modified recently.
A fresh copy as well.
For two meetings, January through April, and the first meeting in May. Traditionally, the second meeting gets scheduled after the election. And we have avoided the February and April school vacations.
Right. Good. So January 9th, the 23rd, February 13th, and February 27th, March 12th, March 26th, April 9th, April 23rd, and May, what is that? 6th.
Customized font.
I know.
What was the first one in April?
9th.
Thank you.
Can we take these and decide on this at the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, so we
I
will,
did not see this list before taking it.
all right, we will hold off to do that the next meeting. Next up is to approve the bills and payroll warrants W20-11 and W20-11A.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And next up is minutes.
We have minutes.
We have minutes, 4 sets of minutes.
4 sets of minutes. I forgot to do a post it and I apologize for that. And I could do it with those 2 dates.
All right, so I move that we accept the minutes from September 11th, regular session, September 11th, executive session, the second executive session on September 12th, and the regular meeting of September 26th.
So moved. For second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, next up, we will be going into 2 executive sessions. We will not be coming out of any of those sessions, ever. And we will not be returning into open session. So the first session is an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining for the fire union, as the chair finds that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the board's bargaining position. And immediately following that executive session, we will have a second executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, grievance filed by AFSCME Council 93 DPW Unit. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the Board of Selectmen, and their chair so declares, the board will not reconvene in open session. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Roll call. Sikansky.
Aye.